Oh, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of We Just Got Up. Well,
Oh well.
um,
We went to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning.
yeah,
Thanks to a trip to the ER.
yeah, and once we got there and they started doing stuff, I'm like, well, I'm glad my wife, uh, made me go because when we got there, they hooked me up to a EKG machine and
He blew it up. It exploded. No.
they I didn't, I thought it was just, I was just sore, which is what it turned out to be, but the doctors and nurses are like, they took me right back.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, definitely, and they gave me some, Vicodin?
Yes.
And,
He's pulled muscles, is what you've done.
yeah, they're the upper left side of my back, and it's still sore, but I don't want to take another Vicodin right now because then
they knock you out.
Yeah, I'll go right back to bed, and I don't need to do that.
You'll definitely sleep with them.
No. So,
you may not even need your Seroquel with them.
I wanted to address an issue concerning two people. And yeah, please forgive me. Like you just heard, we went to bed, like, what did you say?
3 o'clock in the morning is when I went to bed. You were in bed before about 15, 20 minutes before that.
So around 3 a.m. plus I took my Seroquel and the Vicodin, which the combination is and anyway, I think the guy's name is Bryan. I don't remember now, but I want to say this. Yeah, he posted at least 3 things on my Facebook wall, and you claim that Darlie Routier is guilty, but you provide no evidence for that. If you could provide some evidence, and it's evidence I haven't looked at before, then I'll look at it and I'll consider the information. But look, frankly, I have not seen any evidence that indicates she's guilty. I want to say something about the silly string incident. For those who've not gone through a tragedy, and what Mrs. Routier went through was a tragedy. It was a tragedy greater than what my wife and I combined have gone through. And my wife has gone through tragedy worse than me.
What happened to her?
Her kids were murdered, and they tried to murder her in the process. And you don't know what, I don't know how you say, when something like that happens, what do? I mean, you don't know what to do. I mean, that's not something you ever expect to happen to you. Her kids like silly string. That's why she took the silly string out there. It was like being there in spirit, if you will, with her children. I mean, how do you, what do you do when a tragedy strikes? You don't expect that, and frankly, even if you were to consider a tragedy like that, what you're going to wind up doing if it actually happens may be completely different than what you thought you would do. Your reaction may be completely different than you thought your reaction might be. And frankly, I don't see how anybody could really consider. I mean, you just don't expect somebody to try and murder you and to actually murder your children. I mean, look, frankly, the evidence that I've seen indicates that Mrs. Routier is innocent. First of all, she did not have just minor injuries. If she had minor injuries, maybe I would consider options that I don't consider to be. Sorry, I'm still not awake. If she had minor injuries that she could have inflicted on herself, that would have been one thing. She didn't have minor injuries she could have inflicted on herself. She had very serious injuries. Plus, there's the fingerprints, the hair, the blood that are not hers. I don't know if any of the. My understanding is none of this stuff has been matched to anybody. But I'd have to go back and look at the information on the case to. I don't know where her husband may have been at the time. And look, it's not like this never happens. It does happen. I don't remember that girl in Utah. They kidnapped her. I mean, they didn't murder her, thankfully, but there's a family in California that they recently found the bodies of. And they went missing a few years ago. The Lindbergh case, Charles Lindbergh's child. So things like this happen. And I know about the corruption in the system, the corrupt system in Texas. I lived there for 40 years. And I lived in Kerr County for a few years. And I was well aware of what went on in Kerr County.
Was it a very southern county? Far to the south, or?
No, it's a hill country.
Oh.
I mean, they're flying drugs in from Mexico. And, the police and the sheriff's department were well aware of it.
Sad to say, it may have been my uncle flying drugs in there. My Uncle Norman. Yeah. He did that, and he wound up in prison several times for it. But I had one uncle who could steal you blind, and one who could beat the living shit out of daylights out of you and leave you for dead.
So, I have a Maggie girl over here next to me. She's just sitting there. He's like, "What are you doing?"
Just watching.
Oh,
observing.
I'm petting her, and she's like, "Oh, I like that."
She doesn't like to be held, though.
No.
That gets her fur going the wrong direction.
Yeah. But anyway.
And she drinks from the water closet too.
Yeah. So this Bryan guy, if you would provide, I don't know how you say, evidence.
Proof.
Yeah, proof that I haven't looked at, and it hasn't already been considered. I might consider, I would look at the evidence, but you haven't done that. All you do is basically call names, and you put pictures up of toothless idiots. But don't you realize that those are pictures of you? I mean, they might as well be. You're the one who just calls names. You don't provide evidence of anything. I'm trying to think of that singer's name. He does a lot in Las Vegas now.
Wayne Newton?
Yes, thank you. So, I remember the 70s. Wayne Newton was still, he still made some big hits back then. And just because some of his fans are toothless hillbillies Does that mean his music was worthless or something? No, it has nothing to do with that. Just because there are toothless idiots who say Darlie is innocent, that has nothing to do with any evidence.
I dare you to go into Arkansas and get in a fight with some of those toothless wonders running around down there.
Yeah. Yeah, so
you'd do good to make it into the hospital.
Yeah, so you need to provide evidence and not basically just not call people names. So on to another subject. Not one I really want to talk about, but our daughter was just talking about it. Um, um, Gabby, you need to start taking your medicine and stay on your freaking medicine. I don't know what you said to Kat. I don't know what your problem is, but I've known you when you've been on your meds, and you did really well. But you stop taking your medicine and you go cuckoo. And have you noticed that nobody wants anything to do with you when you're off your meds? That you say strange things when you're off your meds? That you do strange things when you're off your meds? I've known lots of people with schizophrenia, and as long as they take their medicine, they eat right, they get at least a little exercise. But exercise doesn't have to be anything more than taking a walk. They do well. You go off those medicines, or you just sit there and do nothing and let the mind run wild, uh, bad things start to happen. So, don't expect people to want to be there for you and help you if you're going to call them names and attack them. And anyway, so that's all I have to say.